Hello, everybody. I'm Sarah Schweppe. I'm a co-creative relationship coach who works with therapists, coaches, and other helping professionals who are feeling stuck in relationship. You've probably tried a lot of the things, the therapy, the coaching, you've read all the books, and you might even be working with other people, other couples to support them in relationship. But then you come home and things they aren't that great. That was me too. And so I'm super passionate about supporting you all because there was this huge piece that I didn't know that I didn't know. And that was working with the energy of emotion in my body and the intersect with my unconscious commitments, the things that were keeping me stuck that I couldn't talk my way out of. There wasn't any amount of sorting it through cognitively that was going to help me to create the love and the life that I really wanted. So today I wanted to talk about something that just totally blew me out of the water when I discovered it. And it's this idea of unconscious commitments that, of course, we all know about our unconscious. We know that it comes out. We know that we're not supposed to see it. That's the point of it. It's supposed to stay out of our awareness. But what I didn't know was that the things that I complained the most about were the things that I was actually requiring in relationship. And so I know for me, one of my big complaints at one point was that I wasn't feeling connected. I wasn't getting connection. I want to be connected to you. Where are you? And it turns out, after some digging and doing my own personal work, that actually required that disconnection. Now, I know that sounds crazy. And I know I always feel a little scared when I'm introducing this topic because I don't want anyone ever thinking that I'm blaming the victim, right? Because this isn't about blame at all. It's not about blaming other people. It's not about blaming ourselves. It's about finding the ability to come back into our own power and, in my experience, being able to say that I am the creator of my experience, that there is something inside of me, there's an unconscious part of me that is requiring other people to show up in a certain way, was one of the most empowering things that I discovered. Because once I could let go of needing to change things out here and get other people to be different, and you need to do this, and then I was back in the driver's seat of my own life, right? Because it turns out that there are some very practical tools to go in and discover, one, what is my unconscious commitment? What am I creating and why? And then to move that energy through. So I think about this like a persona or a part, right? If we're thinking about the inner map and going below the line, which is basically reactive brain, right? Anytime we don't feel good, anytime we're in that contracted place in life, in relationship, we're below the line, we're in reactive brain, we're in a persona. Like I've taken on a role. It's an unconscious thing. I now am more aware of it when I go there. But for a long time, I didn't realize when that was happening. I just thought that's who I was. I thought that's who the other person was. And so these personas, they come out in childhood. Something really big happens, right? You get yelled at by a parent and you have big feelings come up in your body. And maybe you weren't able to feel those. Maybe they were too big. Maybe it wasn't safe. Maybe you just weren't ever taught how to actually be with that energy to move it through. So the energy gets stuck. And in that moment, we unconsciously kind of look around. What are other people doing? What are they doing right now to deal with their feelings? And then we adopt that way of being. So we see this with the control freak or the overeater or the do-gooder, like all these ways that we sort of present ourselves to the world and relationship that aren't our true essence. It might be close, right? I remember the day that I realized I wasn't my best face personas, like, oh, I'm not a helper. I'm not a high achiever, and I'm not, of course I have all those parts of me, but it's not my essence. It's not my authentic self, just parts of me. So I think I'm digressing a little bit. Where was I going with that? Oh, so these personas. So because they come in to keep us out of our feelings, out of old energy, they require the world to show up in a certain way, right? It's how our perspectives can shift throughout the day, throughout the week. It's because these parts of us have different views on the world. So the caregiver persona in relationship will require people who need care. Because if that persona's up and there's not somebody to care for, they can't do their job, then all those feelings that persona was born to keep us out of would bubble up into our awareness. And so this is so wild. I don't know how this works, but time and again, it just proves so true for me. So when I'm not allowing that energy to come up, my persona comes up, I'm in reactive brain, I go into projection, and right, I have a certain perspective on the world, and then I'm calling in unconsciously these experiences. So it looks like there's all these people that I have to take care of, but they need me and they're not going to be okay without me, and I've got to give them care. But what I actually think is happening is that persona is somehow attracting with these other energies, like those people who need care. We get in an interlock, right? They have something that they're trying to not feel, and we find each other. And, the interesting thing about these personas is that they have smokescreen feelings. So I might be kind of like tired or eventually kind of irritated. On the outside, it might look like I'm having feelings because I'm in reactive brain. I'm lodged in some level of consciousness. But underneath that smokescreen feeling is the actual feeling that didn't get felt way back when. And so it isn't until we can go in and move the energy of those old feelings, clear them out of our body, that the grip of that persona can finally let go. It's not until we do that it can let go. And so until that happens, it's like constantly creating these situations. It's finding the people, and it looks like it's life. But the mind-blowing thing and the cool thing is that I'm actually generating those experiences. That's how clever and how much power is tied up in these parts of ourselves. So you can imagine when you start to discover them and you start to work with them, you start to clear out the energy that they're working so hard to keep at bay, the amount of true power that you have. So I'm unconsciously creating experiences all the time, right? Consciously maybe as well. I mean, of course we are consciously, but if we could move that unconscious power into conscious creating, imagine what you could do. Imagine what you could move through in a relationship. Imagine where those places where you and your partner are getting stuck and it really looks like it's them doing a thing and they think it's you doing a thing. Imagine if you're both clearing out the old energy so you don't have to operate in these roles anymore. You can shift up into your essence, into creative brain, into the expansive, loving realms that are filled with possibility. Imagine what you could create two people from up there. So this idea of unconscious commitments is like the ways that our personas are committed to being. The Hendricks have this idea, Gay and Katie Hendricks, they're psychologists who've been around for quite some time. They have this idea that commitment in this work is actually about how we organize our energies. It's not a vow, it's not a promise, right? It's like I can come back to a new commitment because I forget inevitably on a daily basis, so I can recommit. And so in an unconscious commitment, I'm committed to a certain result in an unconscious way. These are the results that we complain about the most. When we shift out of those unconscious commitments, clear out that old energy, we can then create a new conscious commitment. And it's the coolest thing because when I do that, life shows up differently because I'm no longer needing to avoid things. I no longer need people to show up in a certain way. And I don't know, how does that happen? But it does. People show up differently. Life shows up differently. My experience is incredibly different. And so these places that we get stuck in relationship, these entanglements where, I don't know about you, but I was convinced the other person needed to do something. Like they just needed to get their shit together. They're not trying hard enough. Whatever thing is coming up in my reactive brain state, those complaints are a clue for me about what I'm requiring. Those complaints are direct evidence to what my personas are doing. And so this, I know, is a rather deep topic, and I'm sharing this, I don't know, in a quick video But I just wanted to introduce this idea to you because if you are continuing to stay stuck in your relationship and you're doing the therapy and you're doing all the right things, it might be because your energy is stuck. It might be because you haven't enlisted the support of your body. Your body it's always talking to us. The clues are right there. It's leading us to the places that we're stuck. And so I know for me, this was like light bulbs were going off. It was a total game changer. It brought me back into feeling hope, and it helped me to feel that like I had more control over my own experience again. I wasn't at the whim of life. I wasn't at the whim of other people's poor choices. I now had tools to begin to shift my experience, my reality, and the way I get to be in relationship. So I think that's all I want to say for today. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this topic. I'd love to hear what questions you have. Where are you getting stuck? What do you want to hear from me? What content would be most supportive to you in your relationship? Thanks a lot, guys. If you liked this video, I would so appreciate a like and a subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to connecting with you more in the future.